بسم الله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. So today, inshallah, we are going to talk about one of the Sahaba that he is the most one that narrated a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He was a ruler for Bahrain for a while, and he was a ruler of Medina at the end of his life as well. Do you know who is that Sahabi? Very famous. I mentioned him yesterday.
Abu Hurairah.
Abu Hurairah, radiallahu anhu. So Abu Hurairah, he is the most Sahabi that narrated a hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He narrated almost 5,360 hadith. In Bukhari and Muslim, you know, when there is a Bukhari and Muslim join both together, a hadith, they narrate one hadith, that means that Muttafaqun alayhi means the highest. So they both narrated 609 hadith from Abu Hurairah. So Abu Hurairah is one of those unique Sahaba that he gave his whole life to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And even in his time, people were asking, why are you reporting a lot of hadith from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam? And he says, I was enough for me just to fill my stomach sometimes. And I dedicated all my life to be with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And one day the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, whoever wants to spread his cloth in front of me and sit, and I will give them a hadith and knowledge, and they will not forget anything from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam at all. And he says, I was there and I had this moment with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and never forgot anything that the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told me after that. So that's one, because you know the Sahaba, some of them were traders, some of them were like farmers, some of them, so they had to work all the time. The Abu Hurairah was one of Ahl al-Suffah, those poor people that the Prophet ﷺ was giving them money, and he was the one who was responsible for them. He didn't have to work, and the Prophet ﷺ had to have him. And why he is named Abu Hurairah? As you know, because he had a little cat, a kitten, and he used to have it in his sleeve. That's how when he was young they called him Aba Hir. And the Prophet ﷺ says Aba Hir. So the Prophet ﷺ taught Abu Hurairah, and Abu Hurairah, when he became a ruler of Bahrain at the time, the Prophet ﷺ sent him and he stayed with Umar, and when in Umar time he was the ruler of Bahrain. May Allah protect our homelands and our countries and put this war away from everybody and keep everybody safe. Subhanallah, yani. Abu Hurairah one day was sitting and preaching to people in the masjid, and he looked at himself and he had a very nice cloth. Like, you know, the clothes you wear, like brother, what you wearing, the sirwal and the same cloth. So, but it was from Khaterah. And he says, oh, look at you, bakhin Abu Hurairah, look at you. You are wearing the same cloth. And he took out a tissue from the same cloth and he sniffed on this and he says, don't look at me now. I remember myself, I was so hungry in one day that I went outside to look for anybody to feed me and I didn't find anybody. So I went to Abu Bakr, asked him about one of the verses of the Quran just to feed me. You know, when you go to your brother, I want to ask you about something, so they can tell you, let's go have dinner together and I will talk to you. So he asked Abu Bakr didn't understand and tell him the answer and left. And then he said, I went to Umar and asked him about a verse in the Quran just to feed me. And he didn't understand and he answered and left. Then I went to the Prophet ﷺ and he says, as soon as he looked at my face, he told me, come Abu Hurairah, follow me. He knew it, that I am hungry. The Prophet ﷺ in Egypt we say, يعني يفهمها وهو طيرة. النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم كان بيفهمها كان قبل ما تطير. يعني before you even pronounce or say anything to the Prophet ﷺ, he knows what you want to say. And then he says, I went to the Prophet ﷺ and he had qadah of milk. Qadah like a big cup of milk. And he says like, oh, Prophet will give me some milk. And he said, the Prophet ﷺ know that somebody donated that, and he told Abu Hurairah, go and call the people of the Ahlul Suffah. And he says like, Ahlul Suffah was around 70 people. How 70 people will be fed with that? And he says, I'm so hungry, and if I'm going to call them, I will be the one feeding them. So I will be the last one to be fed. And he says like, that means like I'm not going to get nothing. And then he says, the Prophet ﷺ asked me to feed all of the Ahlul Suffah, and all of them fed very well. And then the Prophet ﷺ told me, Abu Hurairah, drink. And he says, I drank until I was satisfied. And then he said, drink again. And drink again. He said, until the Prophet ﷺ kept asking me to drink until I said, فَلَا أَجْدُ لَهُ مَسْلَكَ. I am so full in a way that I cannot even drink anymore. And then the Prophet ﷺ took the rest and said the prayer, and he ﷺ drank. So these people, when they get so powerful as a ruler, when they get very wealthy, they didn't forget how they were. When he was a ruler and talking to people with nice clothes, he told them what happened. That people used to find me in the masjid of the Prophet ﷺ lying down because of the hunger, and then go check on me. They think that I have a devil or something. Because he is hungry. And he doesn't have any food for days and for months. So subhanAllah, those people we are following. And one of the famous hadith that when we read Ayat al-Kursi, when you read Ayat al-Kursi, what happens? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives you protection, right? There is a huge, a specific story about that. What happened when the story of Ayat al-Kursi. Abdul Rahman yesterday said, I want to tell you the story. So he wants you to tell you the story what happened with Abu Hurairah and why we should read Ayat al-Kursi every single night and every single day before even we sleep.
One day, Allah he told
Abu Hurairah to keep what?
to keep the doors.
To guard the sadaqah. So the Prophet ﷺ had sadaqah, the zakat, and he asked Abu Hurairah to guard this. Then Abu Hurairah, what happened?
And one night, there was someone stealing from it, and then he told Abu Hurairah, like, please let me go, I have kids and I'm so poor. And then he told him,
I'm gonna let you go, but don't do it again. He was stealing from the sadaqah. Then he went to the Prophet in Fajr.
And he told him everything, what happened, and then he told him,
He's a liar and he will return back the next day.
The next day at night, he told him, he came back and he stole again, and he told him again, I'm poor and I have kids.
Please let me go and I'm not going to do that again. So the second day he went and told the Prophet, and the Prophet ﷺ said, he's a liar and he will return back.
And then the third day when it happened, he told him, I'm poor and I have
He came back and was stealing again, and Abu Hurairah caught him, and then he told him, I'm not going to let you go. So what the person said?
said, I'm gonna do this ayah and say it every night. And he said the ayah al-Kursi to him.
So if you say Ayatul Kursi, Allah sends you a guard that protects you the whole night or the whole day. So he went to the Prophet ﷺ, Abu Hurairah, and told them about what happened. What the Prophet says?
He said that guy was the shaitan.
He says that he sadaqaka wa huwa kadhub. He was honest with that. So yes, repeating Ayatul Kursi is protection, but he is the liar because he is the shaitan that has been tricking you the 3 day night. So these are one of the stories. Jazakumullah khairan, Abdul Rahman. Thank you so much. May Allah accept from all of us, inshallah. And the question after the 4 rak'at, who are the 10 people, the al-ashar mubashirin bil Jannah, the 10 people that the Prophet ﷺ promised the Jannah. If you know them, just let me know after the salah, the 10 of them, inshallah.